Hi all, welcome to this December Player of the Month squad routes, focusing on the 3 or 4 main players of Coutinho, Firmino, then we've got Kane and Lingard, but everyone is kind of assuming that Kane is going to walk this, but be fully aware that he might not necessarily get this, so be prepared for this regardless. Smash like as always, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GSLegend, all links are down below for playlists in the channel and social media links as always. So first off of the routes is an England route focusing on for Kane and Lingard. My feeling would be they could either go all 11 players for England, or they could just go like say 3 or 4 England players. Smart options, like you've got Jagielka, he'd be kind of a common one thrown in, but also be aware that there's a lot of foot miss English cards kicking about, like Lingard and Danny Rose for example, and Vardy, but people I wouldn't imagine would give up the players. But I would say as long as you've got like an 82 rated squad, if 82, 83 rated squad for an England based squad, you'll be alright. It would just be a case of just ticking off the special card requirement that I think they would throw in. But England route might not necessarily happen. Brazil, for Firmino and Coutinho, basically I would assume kind of a similar kind of squad, but bulked up to maybe an 83. I wouldn't imagine they could push it to an 84, that could happen, but as long as you've got an 83, covering your base to an 84 wouldn't exactly hurt. You'd probably give up maybe say Coutinho or Firmino, depending on who was to win Player of the Month for say Brazil, because I'd imagine one of them will prove handy. Be aware that Manolis's base card is Brazilian but his inform is Ukrainian, and if you've got his monthly reward card for Foot Champions, that is a Brazilian, which is an interesting one, so but still solid enough. Premier League, fairly straightforward. Now my feeling is if they were to do a standard EPL squad, it's going to be an 84 rated. I would imagine you'll give it like folk like Morata, Jagielka, Ederson, Vertonghen, etc. But part of my feeling would be that they might tweak the Premier League one. They might ask you to give up someone of use. Maybe one of the they might ask you to give up, say, the nominees, as it were, depending how it pans out, for example. But I'd imagine Premier League, they can't really variant it very much for a lot of the players because of how the months progressed, really, and how many games all those teams have played. Then for someone like Firmino, for example, his previous teams were in Germany, so I'm partly thinking they could really just make it a 2-league hybrid of Bundesliga and EPL. Same would apply if you were to go with Coutinho. You would probably just do the same variant, which would be on the right hand side being Inter, or the left side being Inter, depending on how you wanted to play it, because you might go the Perisic route. But it would still be fairly straightforward, and I couldn't imagine it being too difficult. But as long as you gave up an inform regardless. So as I say, for Firmino you would use Hoffenheim, which is Wagner. You would use his inform. It's not too expensive either, so be aware of that. But Firmino, Coutinho have got good solid shouts. Then if it was a Liverpool route, I would assume you'd have to give up 4 players from Liverpool. They've kind of been that kind of way. It's been about a minimum of 4. The smart option for Liverpool I'm noticing at the moment are Klein, Firmino, Mane and Lallana. Depending on the rating, I would assume it would be 83, I would assume it would go to an 84. I'm saying at minimum 83 at least, but I think if it was 84, then Klein, Lallana, Firmino, Mane, Coutinho, they're going to prove quite popular in this case. Even Virgil van Dijk could prove very important depending when his card gets released into FIFA. For a Spurs option, if they were to do a variant of this, Spurs, I think they could do it a multiple of ways. They could do it the attacking 6, so it would be like Eriksen, Ali, Kane, Son, like Lamela or Sissoko, whoever at right mid, and then maybe like Wanyama or whoever else in midfield. But when they did that last year, it was expensive, but I would imagine they wouldn't go quite partial. But still, for 4 players for Spurs, Son, Rose, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Lamela, you'd be kind of not struggling really. You might even have to give up Kane, for example. I wouldn't imagine you'd give up Kane for a Spurs route, but you never know. And Manchester United, for Lingard, same applies, 4 players. The most common ones that I would imagine they will throw, and I've just realised it is I've only put in 3 in this particular route, so I apologise. In fact, it could easily be 3, minimum of 3 as well. I think it would maybe be 3 over, unless you get 4. You could end up giving, like, say, Rojo, Herrera, Mata, and Mkhitaryan. Wouldn't surprise me. And then you could even have the other alternatives that you could end up would be like Blind, or like Jones, for example, or even like Carrick or Smalling. You wouldn't find yourself too short, really. For Kane in particular, if they were to do a Kane-centric route, I think they could either ask you to give up a Kane special card, or they could ask you to give up Kane in general, just any form of Kane. So, depending how it would play out, if it was 91, 92 rated, whatever it was, if it would want to make it stand out, I would say Kane would need to have a sort of card. If it was a base card, that could rock it, and then you'd end up giving up informed versions of Kane. Same would apply. They're going to do something around this record, guys. Be fully aware of that. For Kane, most logical, they could either go something that ties him and Shearer. They could tie in something that involves the record, like 50, what is like 56 goals or something he scored this year, or something in the Premier League. They will do something, so be fully aware that they will probably tie in something with this record. That's why I've only put an individual Kane in. But hopefully you find this useful as always, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you fancy for Player of the Month. Smash like as always, sub to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later.